Hey, back again for another video. In this one, we're going to talk about consistent sales efforts and how you can have more consistent projects coming into your creative business. A couple years ago, I had somebody send me a DM asking how they can get booked out for a year in advance. That was their goal. They wanted to know a year ahead of time what they were going to be working on and have the whole calendar year booked. And I thought, man, that is a great goal and impossible. And I'm going to show you why that's impossible inside of this video. With the exception of retainers, if you have a retainer or a dedicated resource agreement with one of your clients, you can probably do it. But if you're going project by project, you can't know a year ahead of time what you're going to be working on because of this. I'm telling you, I tracked everything at my agency. Like if you've taken my courses, you know my spreadsheets and the things I tracked and all the little data and the nuances and stuff. And one of the things that I started tracking back in 2008, I went and had my office manager do a report on how long it takes us to cover the next month with greenlit projects. How far in advance are we in covering our expenses for the month? And we did this little analysis here. So 2008, January, I blocked out the actual numbers of what we greenlit and billed and stuff just for confidentiality. I can tell you rough estimated expenses during most of this run was probably $100,000, and most of our profitable months were billing somewhere between $150 and $250 a month. So that's kind of the rough numbers in here, but you'll see batches that we did not cover the month. Okay, let me show you what this spreadsheet is. 2008, January, we covered the month 6 days before the month started. So that would be December 25th, right? December 25th, Christmas Day. It probably didn't happen that day, but maybe, who knows? Christmas Day, we greenlit finally enough projects to cover our January of 2008. And you can see here that February got covered 3 days before it started. March got covered 25 days before it started, 32 days before it started. And you see these numbers getting a little better here in 2008. Then we hit the recession in 2008 inside of October. So we did have a profitable October, but we were unprofitable for this batch of 6 months right here, which was pretty rough time. And then we hobbled through the recession. A lot of unprofitable months. This one never became profitable, going down here. And then you'll see we started to pull out of the recession 2010, end of 2010, 2011. We start pulling out of the recession and we start greenlighting projects that are covering the month 14 days in advance, 27 days in advance, 41 days in advance. And then we hit a really good stretch here, October, December, January, February, March. Look, we're 100-something days. We had greenlit this big $500,000 website in this run, and we had our invoicing schedule parsed out over months of time. So we were able to project our cash flow many months ahead here. But the best it ever got was probably this 136 right here. That was the best it ever got ever in the whole history of my agency. So the idea of knowing what you're going to be working on a year in advance is just a pipe dream. If you go to the bottom of this spreadsheet, 24 days was our average over the course of the 6 years of data that I have relating to this. So 24 days ahead of the month was our average amount of time that we would greenlight enough work to cover the month that was coming. And let me show you why this happens. Your clients don't know what they need a year in advance. So for you to want to know what you're going to be working on a year in advance is just an impossible dream. So much of what we do in marketing is experiment and pivot, experiment and pivot. And I run marketing experiments in 3-month increments. In fact, I do a lot of business in 3-month increments. That's as far out as I go. So if you take this and look at it from a marketing standpoint, you have January, February, and March. That's 3-month span. And then in April, you're going to pivot. So you're going to run a marketing experiment, January, February, March, April, pivot. This is what happens with a lot of your clients. Since so much of what we do as creative entrepreneurs is marketing related, we have this pivot cycle that happens with smart marketers. Then what your client is experimenting with April, May, June becomes the pivot that happens in July. Experiment, 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 pivot. That's what happens inside of marketing. So we take this 3-month increment, and that's why it's almost impossible to know what you're going to be working on a year from now, because your clients don't even know what they're going to be working on a year from now. They have a lot of experiments and a lot of pivots to have happen in that time. So if that's the case, how are we ever going to generate consistent sales, consistent project opportunities, cash flow, consistency? How are we ever going to generate it? I'm going to show you using the same 3-month mindset that happens inside of marketing. Your sales efforts that start in January are going to be prime for the pivots that are happening in April, when your clients, your marketing clients, need to make those adjustments, or when they know what's coming for the next quarter of their business. So this 3-month mindset goes like this: sales in January yield work opportunities for you in April. January, February, March, April will finally start to yield some return on the efforts in January. And the problem with your consistency with a lot of creative entrepreneurs is that if you're busy in January and you're not doing consistent sales efforts, then you're not going to have opportunities in April. It takes that timeline, that 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, to generate an opportunity. So your sales efforts in January yield work in April. No sales efforts in January yield no work in April. And then what do? Well, I know what you do because I did it. You start panic sales. You panic in April, and then you go and start selling to everybody you can, reaching out to your old contacts, your clients, you're asking for referrals, you're doing all the stuff that you should have been doing in January, and you're doing it now in April in a panic mode. But now you have to wait 2 months for dry time, because it's going to take those 2 months or that 3-month increment to generate the opportunities that will come for you in July. This is the rule. 0 sales efforts yield 0 project opportunities. That's obvious, no duh. But the other rule you have to know is that your sales efforts today will yield projects for you in 3 months. And when you start thinking this way, you can start panic selling 3 months in advance and create consistency in your project opportunities. The trick with all of this is to do sales efforts every single day, whether you're busy or not. And you're probably asking now, what in the world are even sales efforts? Well, let me give you some examples of things you can do every day that will generate opportunities for you in the next 3 months. Reconnect with an old client, attend a networking event, ask a current client for referrals, ask a recent client for more projects, send a message of gratitude to a current client, connect with a target client on social media like LinkedIn, post valuable content on social media, take a business contact to lunch, check in with a business relationship you let go stale, comment on potential clients' social media posts. Just be creative and do something that relates to sales every single day, and you're going to be amazed at the consistency of opportunities that come to you. Consistent sales efforts yields consistent opportunities. And most creative entrepreneurs are panic selling when they don't have work and not selling when they do. Your lack of project consistency is your own fault, and you can fix it doing this. All right, little kick in the pants for you that are sitting there thinking, how do I get more sales? Well, you got to start today and hope for it in 3 months. You'll see it happen. Do the little things every day. It's like little drips, and drips, and it turns into opportunities for you. I know it happens. I ran my agency for 15 years with this exact mindset. Didn't really understand it until the last 5 or 6 years of the agency run. But once I did, I was like, oh, I get how it works now. I'm teaching it to you so you don't have to go through the conundrum of wondering, why don't I have any consistent work? All right, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications button, drop a comment, do all the stuff. Share this video with all your designer friends. Whatever you do, help support the channel, and I appreciate it so much. Thanks a lot. Lots more coming from me soon.